When I was a small boy, yeah, I must have been 4 years old, and there was a blizzard in Kyle, South Dakota. Well, it was all over the prairies. A big, big blizzard. 1949 blizzard. And so I was a small boy, and I just started to know that I was alive. I just now knew things. And I look around, here I am. And so this wind was blowing, but I never heard a wind such as this. It was in the sky, and it was going woo, woo. I looked up, and then the sides of our log home whistles. They're going. There are different types of whistles all around the log home. And I looked around. I never heard a house whistle before. And I never heard it hum before. And my grandpa was standing in the middle of the room where the pot belly stove was. And that stovepipe was getting red because the wind pulling it. The wind was pulling the air out. And the stovepipe was getting red. And my grandpa had a basin with water and was splashing it so it doesn't get to the ceiling. If it gets to the ceiling, we're gone. It's going to burn down. So he was going, ch, 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 ch. And my grandma, she was nailing a huge quilt over the window. The window was tall, and she was nailing a quilt over the window. And to the south is the door. To the east, all doors to the east, Lakota. We let the sun in the morning. Our dog was in the house. It was huge and white, and it had a tail like this, fluffy tail that was round like this. Later on, when I learned to read, I read that dogs with tails curled over their back had a lot of dignity. And the dog's name was Jerry. But my grandma and grandpa, they don't speak English. They say Jelly. So the dog Jelly was in the home. They don't let him in, but he was. And when I arrived there to stay with grandma and grandpa, my name was Jerry too. So my name's Jelly, and the dog name was Jelly. So there's two Jellies. I think it helped my grandma because when she called me for supper, Jelly! Me and the dog would both be running back toward the house because we were both jellies. And so he was in the house, and things were rolling down the prairie. There was a big sound, clang, 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 clang. It hit the wall of the home and rolled away in that big wind. And then a smaller one, clang, 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 hit the wall and rolled away. My grandma said, that was the bathtub that was hanging on a harness shed. And the smaller pail, she said, oh, that's the pail that was on the wood pile over there. And she was naming different things that were rolling down the prairie and hitting our home and rolling away. I think she was naming them so I won't be as afraid, because all these sounds were new to me and they didn't want me to be afraid. And so that's the way it was then. We had to stay in this home for a long, long time during this blizzard. It's just like now, we can't go any place for a long, long time until the government says you can go out now. You can go over there now and to the store now. It's safe now. That's the same thing. We were in that home for a long time. And when we finally heard that the wind stopped, we pushed the snow out from the door and we came out, and I looked up at the sky and saw it was so blue. I never noticed it before, but since we weren't outside for a while, everything seemed to be different. I'm just finding out things. And I said, Unchila, Grandma, why is the sky blue? She looked up and said, it's always been that way. Didn't answer my question. I was little, and why can't it be green or pink, or why can't it be red? So I said, Takwe, why? Takwe machpiach itchohe. Why is the sky blue? And she looked up again. She said, Tohonia sawaki het. Ever since I knew it was that way, she said. Didn't answer my question. I said, Takwe, why? And she said, go ask your grandpa. So I went towards Grandpa, but Grandpa was so busy. There were mounds of snow here and there, and there was steam coming out. So there must have been a little hole with steam coming out. So he had his huge, tall hiking stick, and he nudged that pile of snow, and a cow stood up. And he said, Winuch chala, manietau. Means, oh lady, bring some water. They knew to give water to these cattle because I read someplace that cattle cannot lick snow quick enough to quench their thirst. How did they know that? These old people. So they brought a tub of water, basins here and there, little tubs here, as Grandpa was nudging those snow piles and the cattle were standing up. I think they knew there was water. They all herded over. Some were following each other. I don't know why they do that. Cattle, they follow each other in single file, and they take turns drinking water and never nudging each other away. They're so polite to one another. I wish we could be that way, to take our time and have everybody have their share in the right way. I learned a lot from these old people. They seemed to know everything, and they didn't read or write English. They just knew with respect the needs of people. Even me being afraid, they wanted to let me know that they were right with me. They showed me a different way to be loved and lovable. Thank you very much.